All right, everyone. Once again, welcome to another nightly class. So today's topic, as you can see on the screen, we are going to be talking about accept early selling. So when I say the topic accept early selling, I know a lot of people, they don't really think about what that truly means. And I mention this with every topic, obviously, but I want you guys to really comprehend the fact of when you see a topic like accept early selling, don't let hopium affect what you do as a trader. The whole idea of trading is to grow long term. And it's basically, and we're investing. We're not just investing our money, we're investing our time, sacrificing time in our real life to basically gain the knowledge to make money in the market. So early selling, a lot of people, and I mean, everyone has thought this at some point in their trading career. I sold too early. If I would have held longer, I would have made more money. And sometimes it's the opposite reversal of I held too long. I should have sold when I had the chance. So it's kind of like finding that center ground in the overall topic of accepting when to sell, whether it's early in your terms of early or right on time. The way I try and teach people and try and put it into perspective, I don't truly believe in the idea of I sold early. If you sell green, that's better than most people if you can consistently do that long term. So when I touch on the topics that I have for you guys as I scroll down through this document, I just want you to realize early selling is not a loss. So many people, they enter a contract, say at $100 a piece, so 1.00. They sell it at 1.5, so $50 gain, 50% gain, and they get upset when the contract goes to 3 or 4 or even higher. And trust me, from the mental standpoint of that, I get it. But from a long-term perspective, imagine being up 50%, which is huge for one contract, and then you don't sell for that 50%. It taps out at like 65 or 70%. And then within a few minutes or an hour or so, you're red on the trade. At that point, man, I should have sold when I had the chance at 50%. Man, I would have even taken 25% at this point. So understanding the long term with this, I mentioned long term with everything I do, everything I teach, everything I mention to you guys. Longevity is what stands the longest. Quick, easy gains are not going to last with investing or trading. It's just not possible. So as we go through this PowerPoint or document, ask questions if you want to hear more of a personal perspective as to how I overcome this stuff, because it took me a long time and I still deal with it. I'm up 100%. Maybe I sold a few contracts. I have runners left over, but I don't want to sell the rest of my position. How do I maneuver my way through that? How do I cope with, oh, I should have sold here, but now it's back down here. I could have sold at 150%. Now I'm selling for 20% just so I don't have to go red on the trade. I've just overcome the thought of making money. I just want to last. I've seen so many people in the past few years that I've helped personally one-on-one, doing Zoom calls, doing phone calls, and trying to comprehend why they think the way they do. And as I come into repetition with all different types of people, they all have the same mindset of, I missed out on the trade or I missed out on more money, not realizing your like whole purpose of trading is this right here. Any profits is growth compared to the starting of the day. Realizing if you have more money than what you started with, that's a success. Whether your account's at $1,000 and after one trade you're at 1,050, you made a $50 profit that you were not guaranteed before market open that day. And when I tell people that, it's kind of like all they focus on is the money. $50 is nothing. I want more. Focus on the long term. So as we get into these topics and going off the first one with basically having any profit is better than where you started on the day, think about the comparison of an actual job. I know a lot of people, they work a 9 to 5, they work Monday through Friday, still try and trade during the week. Think about the freedom that you could have with just consistently profiting every day. The idea of having like that huge gain when you full port your account, it's life-changing, but you can't make that same trade happen twice because the one time you fail with it, you're back to where you started. That money you just made, that adrenaline rush you had, whatever the case may be, that's not going to stay with you 10 years from now. The money and the result is all you have to look back on. That's what you have to truly like reminisce. So as I look back for me personally, 4 or 5 years ago, I never paid myself the first 3.5 years of trading. I was not profitable consistently until about 3.5 in. And that's when everything started to click for me. I was making money, I'd lose it. I'd make money again, I would lose it, and I would never pay myself. Turning like a $5,000 account into 15,000, back down to 5,000. I never withdrew money along the way. I can tell people like, oh, my biggest day was this amount, but how much did I actually reap from that reward? How much did I pay myself? And that's why when people talk about, oh, this is my biggest trade ever, this is my biggest this, ask them how much they actually like rewarded themselves for that money gain, percent gain, whatever they want to call it. When you're working a job, you're guaranteed a specific amount of money. And that's why a lot of people, they get comfortable with it because it's promised. You show up at this time, you clock out at this time, you're paid this much per hour. Nothing's going to stop you from getting that money. After you pay taxes, do your share, you get that for sure. Trading is not guaranteed. You're not promised to win every day. Even if you have the best possible setup, you're not promised to make that money. Yeah, and then just like you said, boom, bust the cycle. The whole idea of trading, you want to last. And I tell people this because I've been doing this for years now, and I was not successful right away. I've been in my trading career, I've been a losing trader longer than a winning trader. I have not hit a time frame of X amount of years being profitable compared to X amount of years losing. I'm still trying to get time frame wise profitable outside of time wise losing. Overall, I'm profitable now, but I've only been profitable for like a year and a half, 2 years. I was losing for 3.5 ever before what you are seeing from me right now was even possible. So as I got upset with working 60 hours a week, 55 hours a week, picking up overtime because I would blow my port, have to refund it. I was literally standing on that crutch of my job being, if I fumble the bag, if I lose my account, I'll just pick up overtime. I'll just use my paychecks from outside of paying the bills to refund the port. When I looked at, okay, if I'm this content with my job that I don't care about trading, like I'm not strict on myself, I don't follow my rules, am I actually looking at this from a long-term perspective? Am I truly wanting to trade 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road? Do I really want this to overtake my income so that I can do what I want, have the freedom, leave whenever I want, go see people whenever I want? I can work whenever I want. I don't have to show up at this time of the day. I work when I want to. So when I put them into perspective, okay, how much am I making at my job? Even if I'm not making the amount at my job, think about the extra income you can make on the side. Because any growth you make compared to the start of the day, that is you moving forward. You're showing progress, and that's a huge like confidence boost in yourself. Outside of consistency, the long term, understand that you're never going to catch, quote unquote, the move in a trade. So many people, that's one of the biggest things people love to talk about. Oh, if I would have held longer. Oh, I made this much, but I could have made an extra 10,000 if I held longer. So many people use that hypothetical to affect the way they trade moving forward. Maybe they'll hold a trade longer that they shouldn't. Maybe they will size heavier into a trade because that's like the epiphany of, if this works out, this is my breakthrough trade. Not realizing one loss, you're done. Like the port is gone. You just lost 6 months of gains in one day from oversizing. You didn't sell in the red when you should have. You don't realize it until it's too late. And outside of just what you do, so many people on social media, whether it's influencers or even like legit traders that show their profits, they make this big money, not with a $500 position, like how some people can only size that much, or even a $100 position that you guys can size. Making $1,000 on an $100 position, it's possible, but you can't rely on that like it's going to be a bread and butter every single day. $100 in, 1,000 back, or even $100 in, 500 back, $100 in, 300 back. Understanding you just have to get out when you're green, slowly grow. When you're in the red, you have to get out for that small loss. You can't force anything onto your trading career, because I don't think a lot of people understand nothing is promised. When I show up every morning, I'm not expecting or believing like, oh, I'm going to finish the day green. I have that thought, obviously, but I'm not only thinking about I'm going to make money. For the past 2 weeks, I've had one losing day and it was nothing. So do you really think I show up every day thinking I'm invincible? I'm going to keep winning because my past X amount of days I haven't lost yet. I don't think about that because one day of not following the rules, one day of thinking like this is the move I can catch, I'm done. Like that one loss is going to outweigh all that past 2 weeks of time. One day is taking away 2 weeks. So I started focusing on the rules I had, understanding I'm not going to be able to make huge money every day. Some days I make 5K, some days I make $200, some day I lose $50. It's not consistent like a 9 to 5. It's not promised every day. I can show up and not trade. I can show up, trade, be done within 30 minutes. I can show up, lose my first trade, and just tell myself, I don't want to force anything else. I'm done. I'm taking the loss on the day. I'll come back tomorrow. You control everything. The sell, the buy, the emotions. I can't, as a mentor or however you look at me as a teacher, I can't make you successful, but I can show you what you have to do that made me successful. Everyone's different. Everyone has different personalities, and I get that. But the whole purpose of understanding, you need to realize you control everything. You are your boss. Don't think you're going to hit that 1,000% gain. If it happens, it happens. Use a stop loss. Have your risk in the market's favor. Don't put it in your favor. Let the market give you what it presents. Don't hope for anything. Play what you see. So the dream of catching it is what causes unstable thoughts, which literally affects your future decisions. Like I was telling you guys, when you're up 100% and you're telling yourself, man, last week I was in the same position, I sold right here, and then the position ran an extra 400%. I want to try and catch it this time. The market is not the same every day. You can't treat it like a job you go to. When you clock in, you clock out. The market gives you what it wants to, not what you think you deserve to have. So you selling for, and I hate when people are like, oh, you only made 15% gains on that trade. That's 15% more than you started off on the day. Compound that 15% and see where you're at in 5 years. It's a long ways down the road. I get that. But you have to focus on this as a career, not just, oh, I can get rich in a month, in a year, in 2 years. Yes, you can. But the faster you get to that point, the less of a chance you have to keep it. And it sounds crazy. Like if I have $100,000, how am I going to lose that money so quick? If you don't have rules, the money does not matter because your knowledge didn't grow with the struggle possibly. Maybe even you made money so fast, there was no way of even knowing how you did it. So you're just going to repeat the same cycle of I just held super long, sold for 800%. You got lucky by oversizing a few times. That's not going to work every single time. So many people, they take trading for the visual exposure or the acceptance, and it gets harder as you deal with more money to trade with. The more you think you have to show people like, oh, I've been doing it this well. I'm making 500 a day, 500 a day. I barely lose. You get to that point, at least some people do, where you don't want to show a side that you've never had happen before. So you either like shy away from like accepting the fact of what you had happen to you, losing a lot of money. Maybe you sold early. You don't want to show people like what you actually did, but you just want to show them what could have happened if you held longer. Reality has to set in for so many people, and half the time it's too late. The port's gone. They don't have money left to fund what they already lost. It gets very difficult. Social media makes it difficult too for me personally, especially seeing these quote unquote 17-year-old millionaires makes me want to rush the process, but we got to take it slow and steady. That's exactly how I felt. And luckily for me, and I speak on Mir, if you guys don't know who Mahir is, like as I call him the Amazon GOAT back before the stock split, he was printing 6 figures a day off Amazon. Me seeing him do this, someone younger than me, but more knowledge than me. That's when I started to appreciate the fact of like age means nothing. And social media, you can present whatever you want, but how many people are really doing this? You only see what they want to show. And I don't recommend you guys fall into that trap of you only want to show people what's going to make them think highly of you, or they're going to only want to talk to you if you show this stuff. The true people out there, they're going to show you the losses, probably more than the wins, because they understand wins don't stick around as easily as losses do. Wins are harder to keep. Wins are harder to produce. Because when you're in a losing trade, it's not hard to hold that to go to minus 99%. But when you're in a winning trade, for some people, it's harder to sell for a small gain because you want more. It's the craziness of how flipped that is. So as I scroll down and talk about growth over huge wins, the idea of consistency over unstable trading, realizing When you look at it as a perspective of consistency over just trying to make money in the market, I have this little table here and I left Trader 2 side empty so we can focus on Trader 1. This is something that I saw on social media, I think about 2 to 3 years into my trading career. And I was Trader 2 when I found this example. So I didn't copy this for anyone. I literally typed these random amounts in. It's going to correlate with something else. But as we fill in Trader 2, I'm hoping you guys can at least think to yourselves, I used to be that way, or I'm currently doing that myself. But Trader 1, as you guys can see, this is so consistent. 150 profit day 1. Day 2, $300. Day 3, only lost $100. Out of the first 3 days, he's still up $350 overall. Day 4, $200. Day 5, only 50. Would this make you feel unsuccessful? The fact of I've made over 100 every day, I lost 100 one time. Do I really want to stop on the day with only being up $50? This is the realization of accepting the fact of, okay, I'm content with this. Day 6, first trade you're down $50. Would you want to try and trade to get that back? Because a lot of people don't realize over trading could lead to something like this. $50 lost into $500 loss. Accepting the fact of, okay, I may have made a dumb decision. I don't want to try and like chase back what I already lost. I'm just going to end the day here. I'll come back tomorrow. Day 7, one of the biggest days of the week, like day 2, $300 profit. Day 8, $250 profit. Think about, like, I did this on purpose to show you, like, I get it. You can lose money, and then the next day it's like no motivation. You're chasing back what you missed. Don't overtrade because you're red. Accept the fact you were wrong. Maybe you forced a trade that did not work out the way you wanted it to. Come back the next day refreshed. Look for better charts. Look for better entry points or sell points. Figure out what you did wrong on day 6 and attack day 7, day 8, day 9, whatever the case may be. If I did my math right, which I'm pretty sure I did, the total is roughly $1,100 for this Trader 1 example. Now we're going to come over to Trader 2. And I'm going to do this with you guys. I'm not going to like ask for numbers, but just think about if you've ever done stuff like this before. Day 1, make $500. Day 2, say Trader 2 is inconsistent, oversizing, doesn't sell when he should. He goes for the home runs every time. Day 2, let's say he makes another 500. Day 3, okay, he's feeling cocky. He wants to oversize. He just lost $800. And I'm going to, let me fill this in just so the colors don't bother me. Day 3, loses 800. Day 4, okay, he just lost huge the day before. He wants to try and make most of that money back. He wants to oversize again. Loses $400. He started off so good. He was up 1,000 altogether in 2 days. The next day, he lost 800 of the 1,000, oversizes day 4 to try and make that money back. Now he's down 400 again. Now he's down $200 overall in this example I'm showing you guys. So what's the common sense idea most people do? At this point, a logical trader, they'd size lighter and they just go for those base hits. Let's say he starts to like feel himself out. Okay, I'm feeling safer. I'm not going to be stupid. Makes $150. Day 6, same thought process. I'm not going to overdo it. I'm just going to be smart. Makes $50. Now he's back to break even overall in this week. Day 7, okay, I'm back to where I started. Maybe I can size a little bit heavier. Makes $300. Day 8, nothing crazy, just a little day. Makes $50. So at this point with the total amount now, he ended the week 350 profit. Looking at the first 2 days, who would you want to be? And you guys can type this. Who, like, just seeing these 2 days, who would you want to be just seeing profit? Someone posts on social media. What are you actually wanting to be? And don't say 1 because you know the outcome. Be like legit right now. Trader 2 is up $1,000 in 2 days. Trader 1's up 450. Logically, who would you want to be if you saw this on social media? I want to learn from Trader 1 or Trader 2. Who would I want to learn from? They're not showing you their style. They're not showing you their sizing, just the results. Elson, I know you're joking, so I'm not going to bash you. But yeah, like even the people not typing, you would assume Trader 2. Even I would go with Trader 2. So say you snoop into them. You start to like, you join their Discord. You reach out to them. Bro, how'd you do it? Trader 1 tells you, and I'm going to type this above so I can't reveal what the actual stuff is. Trader 1. I size correctly. I take profits. And this, I'm going to capitalize this I. It's going to bother me. Okay, so trader one tells you this. Trader two now, same question. How'd you do it? What advice do you have to me? Both, in my opinion, I did this for a reason. Both reasonable responses. Trader one's telling you size correctly, take profits. Trader two, hold the position, trust it. A lot of people that say this, they don't have a style. I say it because you guys know how I am. But overall, and now you guys are saying it depends on RR, but trader two, show me the risk to reward. So you guys are understanding why I did this example. I scroll down one day. Trader one shows the loss. I lost $100. Trader two doesn't post on social media. You don't even know if he traded on day three. Next day comes around. You see trader one post again, $200. Trader two, next day, doesn't show a loss again. Say the rest of the week, day 5 through 8, they all show their results. If you see these results from trader two compared to trader one, you may lean a little more towards him because he had no losses. He had a $300 day, 150, 50, 50. Trader one, he had a losing day. Okay, a lot of people look at, oh, he lost one, won three. This person won all four. Think about the bigger picture now. That's when the perspective comes in. And for me, when I first started, this was who I was, trader two. I'd make big money, big money. I mean, the first 2 days is almost the total amount that trader one had for 8 days straight. But within 2 days after, he was red $200 overall, barely scraped break even at the end of an 8-day trading period with $350. Trader one has literally it's like $750 profit over him. Small gains, consistent gains, took losses when he knew he should have. He didn't hold in red because he understood if I want to make this work long term, this is possible. Trader two, oh, I started off hot. I'm feeling good. I'm in the red, but I'm not gonna sell. It bites you in the butt, you guys. And I know there's only about a few of you in here, but really think like this was me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat like, oh, I've always been trader one. Even if I was trader one, guess how much of this 1,100 I would withdraw to my bank? $0. I would never pay myself. So this 1,100 would eventually turn into days like this because I would oversize on the fact of I have more money to trade with. I can size heavier. You're not focused on the risk that comes with that until it's too late. And by the time you realize it, you're making money that you should have made way more on. Imagine if trader two would have just realized I got to sell early. Let's say he lost $200 this day. And this day he only lost $100. If I did this right in my head, roughly $1,200, $1,300, only because he realized I can't hold as long as I want to. I have to get out when I have the chance to. The idea of understanding the long-term effect with trading, comprehending you're not going to hit big every time. Don't hold trades in the red because you don't want to accept the fact you're wrong. I get it. You sell for say a 20% loss, and within an hour, the position's backed up 50%. You have to understand the one time, and of course, I'm sure everyone's had this idea and this actual experience happens to them. The one time you hold too long is the one time you lose almost a week of gains. If you just understand you don't have to hold for these major losses, stuff that I don't even want anyone, like, I don't want to see this happen to anybody, but this will happen. And I'm pretty sure some of you are sitting there thinking, like, I've been in this position for a year straight, maybe 6 months straight. It's not hard to get to this position right here. Understanding consistency over unstable. The comprehension of if you just are consistent with your gains, taking small profits, even a 50% gain is not a small profit. 20% gains is not a small profit because if you do that every single day, think about where you're going to be at. The realization of taking 20% every day when you have the chance. Think about the idea of this. 9 out of 10 of your trades go at least 20%. If you sold every position at 20%, you would be hitting 90% of your trades. When you understand that that happens for you, when you journal, when you look back on everything, you're not hoping to hit these 100% gains, because half the time, oh wait, no. 2 out of 10 of your trades go to 100% plus. So think about that. Is it worth it for me to hold when only 2 of them go 100% and the other 8 I'm selling for a loss? Do you really think you're going to be break even on this style of trading compared to this style of trading? Even if the one trade that you hold goes 99% loss, that one trade is not going to outweigh the losses that you had or the wins that you had 9 out of 10 at 20%. But if you take this situation, 2 trades, you go 100% plus, and the rest you just hold, and say 8 out of those 10 trades, you sell at 50% loss. Do you think it's truly worth it to hold for 100% every time? Or even hold for 200%, 300%? I've come to accept the fact that when I journal and I see, like, I literally can tell myself, out of all the trades I enter, I'd say for me personally, 8 out of 10, sometimes 9 out of 10, they all go at least minimum 20% gains. So me realizing that, why not, if I size 2 contracts, sell one at 20%, so I'm locking in profit already, put a stop loss for that last contract at break even or whatever the situation may be. Because that one trade that maybe I hold to 0 because I want to see if it works, this one loss is not going to outweigh all these wins. It's literally impossible. And if you guys want to look into the math, be my guest, but I'm telling you, it's literally impossible to make 9 out of 10 trades that you sell at 20% make it worse than holding one trade, unless if you oversize, obviously, one trade you hold to basically 0. It's technically impossible. Situations like this, that's a different story, because if you actually hit, say, 500% on one of these trades, that will outweigh majority of these losses. But think about the growth long term. This is not going to make you filthy rich or wealthy 4 or 5 years from now, because if you don't sell at 50% for one of these, profits are gone. If you don't even trim or sell your trade at 100%, what are you holding for? This consistency is going to outweigh everything. I think I spelled that wrong. Is the E? Yep. This consistency is going to outweigh this unstable trading. And I think it takes a lot of people like being in the moment to realize I can't do this anymore. And for me, that's what it was. I never journaled. I would never, oh, I'm just going to sell here for the small gain. I wanted to catch the move. I never wanted to sell early because I didn't want to miss the bigger picture of what could be. I didn't want to miss putting in $500 on my, say, $600 account, and it could go 500%. I could make $2,500 on a $600 account. That would change my life. Looking back, trades that did happen that way for me, the money never stayed. So as I'm growing, as I'm not even just having people look up to me, but the fact that I'm trying to tell you guys what stopped me for so long, I was taking 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. I was never actually moving forward. I was just moving. No growth, no consistency. I would just do this all the time. And don't get me wrong, those trades that go big, oh, they feel great. But in a year from now, when you look back, you are not going to feel great about, man, I have not done crap with trading. I haven't paid myself. I withdrew 5,000 over the year, but I had to deposit 10,000 back in to keep trading because I kept blowing my account. Where's the growth? Where's the money that you actually are paying yourself from all this hard work you're putting in? And I'm hoping you guys understand this. I hope you understand this mindset, because this is huge. Understanding you can make big money, but keeping the money is what matters. Anyone can make money in the market, but can you compound it? Can you keep it? Can you pay yourself and keep making that money back to pay yourself even more? I would rather be this person every day of the week than this type of person, having huge wins, having a few heavy losses, but then the wins come back. It's so draining. Mentally, this is draining. Even if his total profit was more than trader one, this is still going to be a harder journey because you're having this huge adrenaline of I just made so much money. And then maybe a day later, man, I just lost so much money. It's up, down, up, down. Someone like this, they have a plan and they're setting themselves up for success. And I know someone mentioned earlier they sold a position for, it was over a 70% gain they sold it for. That's huge. That is huge. If you can do that, not saying you have to, but think about doing that every day. Or at least like you take the journaling into play, you understand, okay, when I enter plays, 5 out of 10 of my positions go over 50%. The rest are kind of like 10, 20%, and they fade off into the red. Learn when to take profits because that growth is going to put you in places where all this hype of trying to make big money, lose big money, back to being consistent, only to size heavy after 5 days back to back of green. You're not moving forward. You're just moving. So try and comprehend that. Consistency instead of being unstable. Trading for visual exposure or the acceptance only gets harder as you deal with more money to trade with. The dream of catching it is what causes unstable thoughts. It literally affects your future decisions. You're going to want to hold longer because you missed the big trade yesterday, only for that trade to not even go even higher than the day before. Next thing you know, you're back to red. You could have sold at 200%. You never took the profits. You will never catch the move. Like, please realize that, guys. And when you do catch the move, don't expect it to happen again because this is what's going to take into effect for your decisions. Any profits is growth compared to starting on the day. 10%, 5%. I mean, like crap, guys, even selling a position for 2% gains, you made money you were not guaranteed. 2% sucks. Trust me, I get it. But I've had days where I finished the day, like I made, let's say $1,000, then I lose 500, I lose 400. Yes, I started the day off hot with $1,000 profit. And I'm looking at myself saying, okay, I'm still green $100. I'm just going to stop. I'm $100 richer. And if I'm that content with it, withdraw that $100 and act like it never happened. You start the day fresh the next day with the same amount you had the day before, but you paid yourself $100 profit. You reaped what you just had happen. Are there any questions before I stop the recording that you guys want me to answer on this record session? Any questions at all for you guys? If you want to ask them, let me know. If not, we can stop this and I can chop it up for a bit. But I want to try and get some. Elson, let me hear it, buddy. 3,700. I never journal. The pain's too much to cover the losses. Understand the pain's what's going to make you grow, bro. I promise you. The issue is where to know when to cut the loss. It's not about cutting the loss. The chart tells you when to cut the loss. Don't think you are in control of that. The chart will always tell you what to do. The chart tells you when to enter. The chart tells you when to take your position and just walk away. You have to be in the realization of that. That's the biggest thing. What's your journal process look like? We can talk about that in a few minutes. For both trader 1 and 2, realistically, would they be sizing in with a 2K account? So when I did this example, and I can go back and talk about that, it's a really good question, actually. So the realization of this example, let's just say they each have, oh shoot. They each have an $1,000 account. Let's just say that. So with them both having $1,000, let's say trader 1, and I wish I knew how to add a insert row below. There we go. Let's say trader 1, he sizes 10% of the port. Trader 2, let's say he sizes 30%. That was a good question. I never broke that down. The realization of even if you don't size 10% both ways, it's the fact that if you hold losses, you're going to take big losses. So seeing this realization, they're not going to openly tell you how much they size if they post on social media. Maybe trader 1's more transparent because he understands trading is a numbers game. He understands sizing properly is what helps me long term. Trader 2 just says enter and hold. Maybe he sized in, let's say, $500 on his 1K account, and he sold at 100% gains. Same thing the next day. Then he oversizes when he's up $1,000. So he's up 100% on his account in 2 days. Now he wants to size, let's say, 1,500. and he holds in the red, keeps holding, keeps holding. He sells for $800 loss. Now his account is back down to only 1,200 up. So he's up 200 on the week now. Maybe he's upset. He lost $800. He sizes heavy for day 4, takes another loss. This person's keeping it smart. And I understand like $150 sizing 10%, that's 150% gains. It's just an example. It's not proper example, but the visual of it, the idea of how this works. If we could just say, let's say 10K account. That's a little bit better. That's more realistic. Selling at 15% gains. Sizing 10%, which is $1,000 per position, sells at 15%, sells at 30%, sells for a loss at 10%, sells for a gain at 20%, and so on. Now this person, let's say they size 30% of their port, that's 10K. So they size in 3,000 every position. He made 500, but he sized 3,000. That risk to reward, I mean, he sold for like very small profits compared to this person, but the gain shows better. Then the losses start to hit. So it's all about how do people size and what are they actually getting out of that, I guess you can say. If we were using the field order, how would you go about review all your trade wins and losses? So when reviewing trades, and this is kind of like off topic from this class, but I'll briefly give an example before I talk on it more in a second. When you review trades with field orders, because you just said like if you're using the field orders, how would you go over a review for your trades win and loss? Take into account where did you enter on the chart and could you have made execution more effective? Not even the fact of like I bought in at this price at 1.0, I sold at 1.2, I made $20 a contract. What did the chart look like when you entered? How did the chart move? How were your emotions moving in the moment? Like, was it fluctuant? Like you were excited, then you were upset. Then you were telling yourself, man, I should have sold here and I have to keep holding this position. The emotions you have during a trade, I personally think are the biggest outcome for journaling. All of this stuff right here, none of this matters in my opinion. Yes, it's the results. That's how much money you make when you trade. But overall, if you're making 500 a day, 500 a day, how did you feel during these trades? Let's say for day 1 for trader 2, he sized in $3,000. Right away when he entered, he was down, let's say 50%, but he kept holding. And then when he finally got into profits, he sold for a very small gain compared to the amount he was already down in the trade. You're not going to see that. Most people don't journal that because, oh, I made $500, I'm good, I'll come back tomorrow. The one time you hold and it never comes back, you take those losses. So when you're reviewing your entries for a win or a loss, think about how you felt during the trade. Because just because you won, it doesn't mean you felt fine for that trade. It doesn't mean that you were content, you were like very calm, the chart worked out the way you wanted it to. The road in between a buy and a sell is what truly matters for the journaling, in my personal opinion. Tradezilla has been the biggest blessing for my trading. Still journal on paper throughout the day too. Tradezilla is a very good platform. It does everything for you. Also, like you said, you still write down on paper. I always journal my emotions personally. I have platforms that I will use, but I love doing paper or just a Google Doc fill in and then go over my checklist of like what I want to respond with to every trade I take. I love to journal, especially when I F up bad, love to face it. And that's perfect. I honestly like to record my market session too with Facecam. Helps me look back at my emotions during that's perfect, but I did the same thing for years. I'd record the entire market session, even when I wasn't trading. I would rewatch the market. And if I did have my cam on, I would see how I would look in the moment of like entering a trade. How was I feeling? Was I moving around a lot? Was I content? I usually like to speak out loud, even when I'm not on VC with people, because it gives me like that verbal instead of my mental just telling me stuff. So what you do is perfect. And if you rewatch the market session, that's even better. Rewatching your trades after being in the moment, you feel different from a different perspective of looking into what you just did. So I give you props on that for sure. Do you use Excel to calculate your risk before your trades? So when I calculate my trades, it's all in my head. Everything's in my head. I do the Greeks in my head. All the mathematics I do in my head for the Greeks, the delta, gamma, theta, the IV transition, the possible pullback on a chart if I enter at a specific price. I just calculate it in my head. I figure out on the chart where my loss will be per contract, and I size accordingly to that. So if I'm going into a position, let's say $1,000 position is my normal sizing, a contract is 1.0 a piece. So normally I would grab 10 contracts. if I know if I when I enter on the chart setup, my risk, let's say it's 0.6. So if I size normal, my risk before entering that I already calculated is going to be $400. 1.0 entry, risk of a 0.6 sell, I'm risking $40 a contract. So if I size 10, before even going into the trade, I know my risk is $400. So if I'm not content with that, guess what I do? I size less. If I size 5 contracts, my risk is 200. If I size 1 contract, my risk is $40. So I readjust with the possible risk I'm putting myself into. I never think about the reward until I'm in the moment of the green trade. How do you record like a screen record? So you can use OBS. I used OBS. You can do Stream Deck, Labs. OBS is the best one in my opinion. And if you trade on your phone, like you can record the market session without your face, obviously. So if you want to just screen record your phone, pull up a chart on your phone, whatever you use, Webull, TOS, TradingView, pull up the chart and just screen record, and then watch that back later. Like there's ways to work around it, but if you want the best quality, I personally would use OBS. I would literally record the screen with the charts, the tape, my position when I entered. So I saw the red green flip on the position with the P&L. I would rewatch that back, and I would teach people with that stuff too. When I would teach people, I would show the screen I recorded and walk them through why I did stuff. I was learning about myself in the moment when I did that. And when I had other people do it, they found out a lot about themselves they never realized, because when you finish green on the day, like trader 2, day 1, $500 profit, most people are not going to review a trade that they made money on, even if they were red during the trade. They're just like, oh, I sold for green, I'm good, I'll come back tomorrow. Eventually that will bite you in the butt. But if you review every day, understand when you're ready at the sell for a quick loss, the outcome is what people have to focus on. I'd rather be trader 1. The first 2 days, I'd rather be trader 2, obviously. But as you see what's happening and you understand how they size, how they don't sell, or one person does sell for a loss, you change your perspective a lot with stuff. Thanks, good idea. I'll start doing that more. Put it in my portable hard drive. Definitely save it on your hard drive. Eventually, you have to start deleting stuff. OBS, when you screen record, mine was like, I think 4 or 5 gigabytes every recording, if not more than that half the time. Use the lowest frequency, use the lowest HD when you screen record, and it will save data and hard drive disk and everything.